The tunnel was supposed to be a trap for them, the whole motor squad was ambushed down with heavy firearms. Now it was all matter of survival, the two of them were the only one, out of 10 people who made it out alive. Catherine is 26 years old, she works in a police station whereby they normally deal with prisoners' transportation. Like they transport a prisoner from one jail to another one, or maybe sometimes they transport them to different courts just in case they have a case to be heard by the judge. Now for the past 6 months, Catherine had been spending most of her time at home with her child and her husband, since she had taken a maternity leave for a short while. But now her leisure time had come to an end, and so she had to report back to work as usual. So as normal on Monday morning, she says goodbye to her family, not knowing this might be her last goodbye for them. The whole of the police department were very happy to see Catherine back again, everybody shared his or her story on how they had missed her for those 6 months she had been away. The good thing is that Catherine was very social with every colleagues, and so she had many friends and they were all in good terms. But now Catherine was informed that for the past few months she had been away, things had changed a lot on how they used to do work. Now Catherine was assigned a new task by his boss, the job was to transfer a certain prisoner from his original prison to another one. The job was to be conducted as normal as those any other jobs, no any red flags were raised on this work. And so Catherine picked his partner Michael to do the work with. And so one-on-one, they went and picked the prisoner and started the journey to transport him. The work wasn't supposed to take much hours, since the transfer was only a few kilometers away. But now, like 2,000 miles away from where Catherine worked, there is this one man who was one of the most notorious criminals, who was held on a court ready to be judged with his criminals by a judge. The unit which was responsible for the capture of this man was called CTU, which stands for Counter-Terrorist Unit. They were based on London City. Their job was to capture one of those big cartel's leaders among other criminal leaders who thought they were untouchable. And so on that day they had catch one of the big fishes of London gangsters, and they were looking forward for his harsh sentence by the court. But now the problem came in when the judge asked for a witness to confess. The problem was that the only witness who was available to confess, he was in a secure safe house miles away from London. And so the unit had to ask for another 4 days for the witness to be transported to the court. The director of the CTU didn't want the man responsible for the crimes to go free away from his sentence at all, and so he had to do everything he can to make sure the prisoner was transported back to London safely so as he can confess at the court. But since the big fish had more connections outside, they knew that he will try everything in his power to make sure the witness didn't make it to London, and so they had to provide a tight security for the prisoner when he will be transported. But now, according to the location of the safe house where the witness was being held, the only prisoner transportation unit that was cross and available at the moment was that of Catherine's. At first they didn't want to assign them with the work, because they knew this work was more dangerous, even beyond Catherine's department training. But now they hadn't much of a choice left. And so they made a call to Catherine's boss and explained everything to him. And that is where, while Catherine was heading back to the station, she received a phone call from his boss whereby she was instructed to the new job of transporting the prisoner back to London. And that's where they changed their route and headed one-on-one to the safe house. On their way everything seemed normal, they laughed and exchanged stories with one another. On their mind, they thought that this will be just like those any other normal transportation they normally do. But what they didn't know at the moment, is that this will be the last time one of them will be seeing one another alive. And so after an hour they arrived at the safe house, the place was heavily guarded by soldiers, even they started asking themselves who was the person they were transporting. Catherine was welcomed by one of them, whereby she was given a bunch of instructions to follow while she will be transporting the witness back to London. But Catherine was very shocked the moment she saw the prisoner she was transporting. This is because Catherine recognized him very well, since that wasn't their first time to meet. It happened that back like 6 years ago, Catherine used to work for the big fish in London, whereby at the time he was like a stepfather to Catherine. But now things changed when Catherine ran away from him since she realized that he had killed her parents. And so Catherine recognized the prisoner very well, and she automatically knew that her stepfather was the one awaiting for the trial. Catherine automatically realized they were in a deep danger, since she knows his stepfather will do everything in his power to make sure the witness didn't make it to London. And so without wasting of time she called his husband and explained the situation she was in. In short, it was like she was saying her last goodbyes for just in case anything happens to her. The husband didn't believe it at all. For over past 6 years they have been escaping and avoiding the sins of their stepfather, but now it seemed the run had come to an end. And Catherine wasn't wrong at all, since from a distance away, there was an assassin who was stalking and tracking every move they make on transporting the witness. Back at the station, everyone held their breath as they were observing the progression of the journey on their screens. They knew with just a blink of an eye, the lives of Catherine's might be taken away. In London, the big fish wasn't aware that he was about to eliminate her stepdaughter. The only thing that mattered to him was to make sure the witness didn't make it alive to London. And his wishes were about to come true, since things started to seem off when Catherine's motor squad entered on a certain road tunnel. Ahead of them, nearly at the end of the tunnel, the road was crossed by a line of mercenaries who were holding heavy guns, ready to deal with any threat trying to overcome them. Catherine and his partner became more confused. There was no escape room for this. They only waited for death. The big fish was very serious and determined on eliminating the witness. On the other side, CTU had already lost their signal on Catherine's. They were on darkness already. Everybody now became silent and waited for any results that will come out. They knew chances of Catherine's team to come out of the tunnel alive were very minimal. Back to the tunnel, when the escort team decided to engage on the mercenaries, they received heavy firearms from their opponent. The van which Catherine was in, it was rolled down and the only thing you could see was blood all over Catherine's face, as she was lying down unconscious. The whole team was overcome by the opposite group. When Catherine's consciousness came back, she could hear the witness from the back shouting for help. And so without wasting time, Catherine stood up and went to uncuff the prisoner. Luckily, there was a forest nearby, where Catherine and the witness managed to escape in. But now the problem was that, they were alone in forest hunted by a bunch of wolves without any backup.